Rangers manager Danny Röhl has just broken his silence on the chaos that followed Celtic's penalty shootout win at Ibrox. An injured Celtic star has received a shock international call-up despite not being fit to play. CEO Michael Nicholson's disappearing act is raising serious questions, and Kasper Schmeichel's Denmark spot is under real threat. It's been another dramatic 24 hours for the Hoops. But first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Rangers manager Danny Röhl has spoken about the disorder that followed Celtic's penalty shootout win at Ibrox, admitting the events after the match should not have happened. The Scottish Cup tie finished goalless after 120 minutes before Celtic held their nerve from the spot to secure their place in the semi-final. The match itself had been tight throughout, with both teams struggling to create clear chances in open play. For long spells, it was the kind of game expected in a derby at Ibrox. Tackles were strong and neither side wanted to give away space. Celtic stayed organised and defended their box well as the game moved into extra time. The turning point came when the shootout ended. Celtic players converted their penalty kicks and the away end celebrated the victory. Some Celtic supporters entered the pitch in celebration near their section of the stadium. Rangers supporters then appeared to come onto the pitch from another area and moved toward the Celtic end, with clashes breaking out before stewards and police intervened to bring the situation under control. Röhl was asked about the events in the days after the match and made clear that the scene should not become part of the fixture. He said, "Nobody likes to see this. I think it was a big part of the game. We didn't speak about football, we spoke about all the other things around on the pitch, off the pitch. It was over 120 minutes, an exciting game, a lot of good emotion on the pitch and off the pitch. This is what we want." And then after, the only topic was the situation on the pitch, and this should not have happened. I think everyone should take responsibility so that we can keep having this. The match itself showed why these fixtures draw attention. It was tense and physical, with neither side able to find a breakthrough during normal play. Penalties then decided the tie. Celtic kept their nerve when the pressure increased. That result sent Celtic into the semi-final, while Rangers exited the competition. The football settled the result, even though the discussion afterwards moved away from what happened during the game. Now for the main story, as Alistair Johnston has been included in Canada's squad for the upcoming international window, despite still recovering from injury, but the call-up is unlikely to mean minutes on the pitch. The Celtic right-back has been out since October and remains in the final stages of his rehabilitation. Current expectations around the club suggest he will not return to full action until the middle or end of April. Canada still named Johnston in the squad for friendlies against Iceland and Tunisia. The matches will take place in Canada, although the defender is not expected to play. Instead, the plan from the national team staff is to have some injured players around the squad as they continue their recovery programs. It allows them to stay connected with the group while also preparing for the summer international schedule. Canada manager Jesse Marsch explained the thinking behind the decision when discussing the squad selection. He said, "The March roster will include many of the injured players who can't play in the games, the likes of Alistair Johnston, Derek Cornelius, Moise Bombito, and Promise David. There's a lot of guys who've had some long-term injuries, so we're going to bring in a little bit of a bigger group to include some of these injured players and in their return to play protocol, so they might not feature in games, but we want them around the team. We still have enough time where guys have the ability to recover and get themselves back to 100%, or at least close to 100% by June. So it's a little bit of a crunch time with the injury situation, but we also have a really big squad now. It's different from years past. There's a lot of really good young players that are establishing themselves in Europe, and the team has performed well no matter who's been on the pitch. But certainly we want to get all our best players as close to 100% fit as possible come June 1st and certainly June 12th. From a Celtic point of view, the most important factor is Johnston's recovery. Travelling across the Atlantic while still injured raises questions about whether that helps the process. Rehabilitation normally works best when it stays consistent. Johnston has been working daily with Celtic's medical staff, and that routine has been built around getting him back on the training pitch. The defender is one of Celtic's most reliable players when fit. His return for the closing weeks of the season matters far more than any involvement in March friendlies. If Johnston remains focused on completing his recovery properly, Celtic should see him back on the right side of defence before the campaign finishes. In other news, Celtic supporters have grown used to the club controlling its public messaging with absolute precision. Every appearance, interview and statement leaving Celtic Park is carefully managed. Questions are filtered. Conversations are pre-recorded. The club rarely exposes senior figures to unscripted scrutiny from outside. It is a communication strategy so tightly controlled that even the most image-conscious organizations might admire the discipline. But in these interviews and some of the meetings Brian Wilson has been having with fans, Michael Nicholson's absence in recent months has become increasingly noticeable. Since stepping into the CEO role in 2021, Nicholson has been responsible for the day-to-day running of the football club. When serious issues arise involving the club, its supporters, or the wider game, the chief executive should be front and centre explaining the club's position. After the attack on Celtic fans and staff at Ibrox, it's surely his role to address and outline the club's position. Instead, interim chairman Brian Wilson has become the public face of Celtic's boardroom during a turbulent period. Wilson stepped into the role after Peter Lawwell's departure, and it is entirely understandable that he would represent the club in certain circumstances. Chairs often speak on matters of governance or long-term direction. In recent weeks, though, Wilson has been addressing issues that fall firmly within the CEO's remit. He has met supporter groups. He has handled tensions between the club and sections of the fan base. Now he is the figure speaking publicly about the disorder that followed Celtic's dramatic Scottish Cup victory at Ibrox, a serious incident that moved beyond football into wider questions about safety and the treatment of our supporters. The response came via a carefully pre-recorded discussion with Celtic TV presenter Jerry McCulloch. The message itself was measured enough, but Nicholson's absence was difficult to ignore. At Celtic, communication is never accidental. The choice of spokesperson is always deliberate. That makes the current situation all the more puzzling. The last public comments by Michael Nicholson on Celtic YouTube channel are from the 17th of December 2025, when he gave his backing to the ill-fated Wilfried Nancy project after losing the cup final days before. Michael has been under intense scrutiny for his part in Celtic's very poor season, which has been the result of poor management of the club over the past 3 years especially. Lastly, it has been a long season for Celtic, one that has dragged at times, with performances dipping to levels not seen since the COVID campaign. Yet despite it all, the Hoops still have the chance to salvage something tangible, with a domestic cup double firmly in sight. That possibility has kept the campaign alive. A mix of factors has led to the inconsistency, poor recruitment, and a squad that has spent large parts of the season patched together through injuries. The strain has shown. Last weekend at Ibrox offered a rare moment of release. Celtic came through a bruising afternoon to win on penalties, a result that felt euphoric given the circumstances. It was all the more remarkable considering Celtic failed to register a single shot on target throughout. That tells its own story about the attacking struggles. Goals have not come easily this season. The numbers underline it. Celtic's goal difference currently sits at plus 22, a steep drop from the plus 55 they held at the same stage last year. The cutting edge has been blunted. New arrivals have not always settled quickly either. At this stage of the season, that becomes a problem, because there is little time left to find rhythm. That's all the latest Celtic news for today. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. I'll see you in the next one. Hail, hail.